What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the number one news source for cannabis law, policy, and business, at least on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We have big news out of the DEA. There's a new way that they calculate what a currently accepted medical use is. And so that's our lead story. We have some tax information about how much tax the 420 stuff has collected, Illinois news, some studies. We have a lot of studies toward the end of it. Let's bring on Miggy and see how his week went and then start going over the news that was cannabis legalization for the past week. Right now it's September 22nd, 2020.
September 2nd, 2024. No
edits are needed in this transcript.
Still, unless a bail of it fell on them or they got allergic as asthmatic asphyxiation like that one employee because they were working in unsafe conditions. So that still wasn't like weed causing it. This is an interesting ripple in it. And they do quote Shane Pennington on it. Anybody who's in the know on the actual laws federally, when they saw that the DEA was on board with this, it's like it had to be. The science was be provided significant deference. I think that may be the buzzword. There's a term of art regarding how much deference the DEA has to give to FDA and USDA, FDA and HHS's scientific determination of currently accepted medical use for pure natural marijuana.
Yeah,
that's on Schedule 3.
But that rescheduling is going to happen, right? Once it's rescheduled, I was hoping to find that meme. You remember Spider-Man? Oh, it's all that shit. I can't remember. Malcolm in the Middle. But the little kid, Dewey, and then I beat his dad at basketball. He's all, the future's now, old man. That's where we're at, right? So he acknowledges that they have a two-step factor now that they approve, that they say this is valuable, this is good, this is valuable. And who doesn't like it? Who does?
Sam. Yeah, I know. And so I like how Sam's not shitting the bed over hemp, but I'm sure that they just to see it as more of a non-issue because the hemp sales is in these areas of the country that haven't legalized it yet. And so they're probably getting their money from the substance abuse centers they all own. So that's where they get paid. That's how Sam gets paid. Was it Smart Approaches for Marijuana? They own a whole bunch of, what do they call those? Rehab facilities. They own a whole bunch of court-ordered rehab facilities. And when you get arrested, they get paid.
And not just that, they subsidize the government because they can't prove good studies, right? We got to find the harms. Can't find the goods. Got to find all the bads. And how do you find the bads? You pay assholes like these people. Do it. Insane. I mean, this guy had
a short test, though. I mean, like the test that they adopted is much narrower than how it had been years ago because they defined it previously in a way that would make natural weed impossible to fit into because it had to be a drug. And so like, the closest thing that natural weed has to that would be like a vape pen because you've taken the cannabinoids and you've distilled them down into more or less like the THC. They used to have a 5-part test and they've gotten rid of that and they put it down to a 2-part test is really smaller and easier now. And then they've made it in a way that marijuana can now be defined as it. So the substance has a well-defined and accepted medical uses in the United States. Yes. Like 25 years. How long ago? Well, it's getting on to 30. When was Prop 215? 1996?
Yeah.
I'm assuming Miggy was there. Miggy, you were there in 1996 over in California helping.
Yeah. I got signatures 95, 96. They joined the Navy in 97. So that's about right. But this whole thing's a fucking sham, scam, scheduling, all this stuff. You did the one video with an awesome impersonation of Nixon about how he even acknowledges like this thing is not right. But when we're talking about like a 2 versus 5 factor system, how many factors were the first time when it first went through it, right? Like, well, no, even when there were prohibition with all the like Warrior Report and all that stuff, before there was even like a CSA, right? This prohibition of this plant didn't get its day in court properly, right? It
still hasn't. We have to wait till December 2nd now. And that's the other video that I did over the past week before I went over to Missouri and had a great time there. And I need to follow up with those guys so that I can get that language too. And I guess I see it in the comments like, hey, He's pro cannabis, but anti hemp. How can you do that? I'm pro hemp is supposed to be for the industry. If you want to use it medicinally, that's weed, man.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so it needs to follow the same, it's the same plant, same rules. And so and that's what we need with Schedule 3 is rules for standardization of the licenses nationwide
yeah.
and methodology for them to be registered with the DEA so that we can lay the foundation for actual interstate commerce as opposed to call it THCA hemp and just build your farm. Like Glass House got into the action this past week. So they're a huge operator in California. They're dabbling with the idea of building a huge farm in Texas to sell the same products, except they would just slap a label on it that says THCA hemp. Just ridiculous. That's the most absurd argument I've ever heard. You're going to have the same plant, and one person's going to have the gall to call it marijuana, and the other one's going to call it hemp.
Well, the caveat there is the person in Texas has to worry about that 0.3%, right? Like they're going to try and harvest it early, get it tested, sampled early. That way it doesn't test hot. Whereas the gardener in California or wherever the legal state is can treat this plant like the plant and let it
Right.
grow to fruition. And that's problem is we have that 0.3% dividing out of the blue line nowhere, arbitrary, right? I don't know how many
Well, it's
10 words
not
I can say.
arbitrary. The whole point of the definition of hemp was to define marijuana or cannabis in a way that it doesn't get you high. That's why we have that. And then they just ran over it. They're like, no, we're going to be hyper literal here and just read the law and not think about what it means at all. That's what we get to talk about on December 2nd about how we're going to regulate this plant so we can have a nationwide market of licensed operators selling natural weed.
And again, then they just back over. They ran over it, backed up again, went back over. Because with all these different little fiefdoms, and people say, "Oh, Trump legalized marijuana with the Farm Bill," but it just
No, it
caused
didn't.
chaos. It didn't
No.
cause any real structure, any infrastructure.
Right. He didn't
You know,
legalize anything.
Yeah.
He gave you a loophole that was never really supposed to be a loophole. You don't define laws in a way that you can immediately abuse them. Typically, that's just cruel. And so it's one of those things where we'll find out in the Farm Bill or just the funding of the government, which probably will happen by the end of the year, whether or not IHDs are going to be in 2025 or not.
What do you think the original intent when they did pass it? Was it for just Hemp Creek? Did they think about CBDs and all the other?
They knew about
cannabis?
CBD. It was just
Yeah.
about not getting you high. It's cannabis that doesn't get you high. That's why they have that 0.3% in there. That's why you're supposed to not go over that line because it's not supposed to get you high. And they didn't think that they were going to do chemistry because the way the Farm Bill works is they define something that is its plant. So like corn, they define corn. The FDA defines corn syrup, like the actual processed
Right.
plant. And so they didn't do that with the current definition of hemp. They just smashed them both together using the USDA and the FDA and then into one single term. It's inelegant and it could be like overly broad. And not only that, completely, what is it? It's absurd, but then they have a particular word for it in description of law. And it's effectively like a reasonable person doesn't understand how to make heads or tails of it and comply. Because you can make THCO. And then when they're making these products and when they distill it into that mother liquor, it all goes hot. As soon as they start the concentration process and they throw it into the extractor, the amount of THC that's in there is over 0.03%. But they go, oh no, we're processing it as if there's like a processing loophole and it's not finalized yet. And that's not, I've read I don't seen that in the Farm Bill. There's a processing loophole. The other thing that really bothers me is they say that they're begging for regulation. And if you try to regulate them at all, well, but not like that. I don't want to be, let's say, do you want to have to pay your taxes first, like marijuana operators? No. Do you want to have to get a license? Oh, I can't get a license. It's too hard to get a license. Okay. So where's the regulation? Like you want to sell the same products, but without the regulation.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine if beer just rebranded itself oat soda? Now with 7% alcohol and they didn't have to pay any taxes or anything like that. It just doesn't make any sense,
Every time we talk about hemp marijuana as a subject, we get in the chat. It's always deschedule. Obviously, we all hope for. Or why does the government got to be involved? There is good regulation. There's good governing bodies that look regulatory shit, right? We are trying to prevent doors falling off airplanes and exploding batteries. And there's different things that markets prevent, or you can hold people accountable. I don't know if you saw the recent Kamala and the Oprah discussion, but there's a little joke in there where they're talking about $5,000. I think Trump is offering for small business, and that's not good enough for a small business. Like $5,000 for a business, if you want to be like a restaurant owner or a liquor store
Yeah.
owner, it doesn't happen, right? It's a concept of a
You've
business.
maybe gotten your website up and
Yeah,
paid for a couple of applications to get your license from the city. So if you open a restaurant, if you open a bar, if you open a liquor store, you still need to pay the city some stuff and get some licenses. But if you
yeah.
want to sell THCA weed, you just say that it's hemp and pretend like the rules don't exist. You know?
Until they catch up, because they are. That rescheduling is going to happen, and this is the same freaking plant. And so you better get involved as far as like when it comes to the regulatory process. 'Cause
Right.
none of this is extra like secret hiding behind. As someone who works in the quality area for past 15, it's the rules aren't. There's no gotchas. There's no if you just do the right freaking thing, if you make brownies, you're gonna follow the kitchen rules and have a regulated kitchen and all that stuff. And the same thing can apply to a cannabis farm in the end when that time comes. But we're not there yet, but we're close. We are so close. The rescheduling, I think.
Yes. And then want to know why there's going to be so much of this rescheduling stuff? And I think that it eventually will get dropped because don't tax drugs. Prescription drugs really don't
Yeah.
have the same amount of taxes. But you know why they're going to start regulating even the intoxicating hemp market? Because of the $8.7 billion of taxes that the licensed marijuana markets have brought in since 2021. And
Oh
like
yeah.
in just the past couple of years, $8.7 billion, all going to states, by the way. And of course, the feds has got their hand out because of the way 280E works, but that's what it are. Like if you look at the taxes for alcohol, oh, it's 20 past the hour. We will gripe about taxes after this, but it's 420 somewhere. Smoke them if you got 'em.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, everybody. I'm asking for a favor. First, don't forget to like and subscribe. And then if you're joining us on the live chat, go ahead and you can go give us a review for Google. That's, I think, our New York office. You can go review that. And then not only that, I also wanted to make sure that we checked out. I'm going to put this. Oh, does anybody have their screen to be shared? I'll put that in the private chat, I guess. Somebody can pop it out. We've revamped cannabis legalization news. And so cannabis legalization news has a new look to it. Just pull it up. Somebody's got to share their screen. You got it? Yeah, it's got a new look. And so if you want every Sunday, well, before we do the show, about 16,000 people get an email reminding them about cannabis legalization news and that we're on and live for that day. And it goes out right when the show starts. So if you want to, you can go sign up for our newsletter right there at cannabislegalationnews.com. I'm going to also share that out in the private chat so that what's not private chat? It's the people that are here, man. And there's 282 of them. So there you go.
Oh,
If you
yeah.
haven't signed up for Cannabis Legalization News newsletter, you can do so over at cannabislegalationnews.com.
I'm also trying to talk to a guy because I do contribute some articles sometimes, not as much as I'd like to, just like doing videos, right? Like it's all about time doing shit, but that's how we know each other. And so I'm trying to get him to have a page where the blogs actually show up.
No, he was
From-
supposed to put that back in. I told him to do that. It's in Elementor, so it's really easy. So like I can
Yeah.
log in and like drop in the blog. It's like a section thing that you use with the Elementor builder and you just drag it over. And so like it would probably be your last 3 blog posts. I use Elementor in all the sites. And so if you go to cannabisindustrylawyer.com, I just did a couple of blog posts over there last week. I do write them with AI because a lot of it is search engine optimization, but a lot of it is also information. And so you
Yeah.
have to check the AI and work with it.
all mine are
But it just writes so much faster and so much better for SEO than I can.
Well, that's different when you're writing for a topic like the best of or whatever. I mostly go with the feels. So when you get mine, it's the feels. But yeah, I'm working on another one right now, and actually a video for us about like products that have been out.
Be really careful about the products because
not
like
selling.
that, but then you'll see when you try to upload that, they might flag it immediately. That's one of the reasons why I try to only really do education or news related stuff. And I never tag, like, we will not be able to say that our dispensary is located in Peoria and we may have a lease here. That place right across the street gives us zoning because we're going to try to do our offer for a lease. What we need to make a contingent on getting zoning.
Yeah. Follow the blog for more. We'll definitely
Sure.
write about that as we go. And if you happen to have 100K, you want to be a part of the team, join us.
Sure. Yeah. If anybody wants to loan us like increments of $100,000, we will take it.
Yes.
Okay. Green market report. We've already talked about marijuana taxes. That's since 2021, 8.7 billion. That's billions of dollars.
Billy.
I was going to go to the next story, and
Senate
that
committee?
one has to do with the DEA.
Hmm.
No, Homeland Security Affairs Company. I thought it was Senate okay's bill to relax federal hiring rules on past cannabis use, known as
DEA.
dismantling outdated obstacles and barriers to individual employment. Of course, one of the major rules of any piece of cannabis legalization. I think that's why we needed to have ours. I think ours was going to be called the Legalize It Today Act because it's going to be lit.
Yes.
The Lit Act. Yeah. And so this one is the Doobie Act, which is, again, that's the naming convention for any marijuana law is you make it an acronym that spells a word related to weed.
Or if you write an article, it's got to be euphemism. Lit.
Or marijuana regulations, hazy.
Oh,
They
goodness.
they always use those. Yeah.
That's a good one. Yes.
Marijuana legalization goes up in smoke.
Oh, no. Don't say that one. That's not a good one, man.
Yep.
Positive
Hemp
thoughts,
crop,
man.
hemp crop lost over series of small fires.
Wow, that. Dude. Oh, dude, I went to, besides rescheduling, right? That's definitely going to be something that's happening. And you know how we're just 50 different states, different fiefdoms, and different rules. Yesterday, had a chance to go to an event here in Washington. It's been a while since we had events. And this was nice where vendors were showing up, did some consumption, checked out products. But this is something that we need to get a part of in Illinois. Like when we open our store, that's how we need to connect with the growers. And so I had a lot of great discussions with some of the growers, dude, about the business, right? Like one of the guys grows one of my favorite strains, Vin Diesel, like a gassy, nice little smoke.
Mhm.
And he raised 1.5 for the grow. And then there's no license available in Washington. So he had to find when I was the business plan thing. Selling weed at 50 is not the same as selling weed at 18. Like
No.
just keep some mind trappers. Like whatever goals you fucking have, the goal is regulation. It's gonna be,
That's one of the reasons why they have limited markets is because it's trying to control the supply. And then they're also trying to make sure that it's taxed. But you just don't want to have, when you have too loose a regulation, like in Oklahoma or in New Mexico, you don't really control the supply very well. So you can get diversion and you can get problems with the product. It's not like the supply of the product's not as pure. It's stuff that's untested or gets through like that. And then also they aren't collecting all the taxes that they otherwise would. Illinois is very about the taxes. And if they're so about the
Sure.
taxes, I'm surprised they're allowing hemp to go on, to be honest.
I know that they did some. I saw regulation where they're trying to squeeze on hemp. Did Illinois?
They
try
are. They're trying to get them licensed. But again, like they're begging for regulation until the regulations come. And then they're like, not like that. I still want to be able to
Yes.
sell to children and make sure that it's all branded. It's candy and stickers.
You say the limited's good, but when it comes to reschedule, when there's a federal playing field, that's going to be a whole different game where,
Oh, yeah, but go start a brewery. Are you going to be
well, that's
regulated?
what I'm saying.
Fuck
Yeah,
yeah, you're going to be
for sure.
regulated. And so the regulations aren't going anywhere.
No, for sure. That's what I'm saying. We're all these people like up and coming. When I thought, like, we're back to that 5K in business, right? Like we had a New Jersey weed ban on here. You can, with this plant, because of the prohibition and just the way it's been treated, you can take a plant, grow it in your closet, don't smoke it, flip it, make some money, and then rinse and repeat, and then reinvest your money and keep growing more plants so you have more product, more money. Therefore, but it doesn't work that way for the regulated side of things. If you want to be a McDonald's, 7-Eleven, or just even like a local Joe's, that doesn't work that way where you can take 5K. You need a full on business plan. I'm going to rent for 6 months. I still need to eat for 6 months. So you get that ball rolling, right? Like one of the growers I was talking to who raised 1.5, they did a second round. Had so many questions, dude, about like raising the money. That's the part we're at right now. Like this is ass puckering good times where I know we're going to be successful because of the limited market. It's not fair. Sorry. Sorry, this is a game we're going to play right now, but it's
Well,
going to be
what in
fine.
life is fair? I'm not LeBron James. I was never going to be LeBron James. That's not
Seriously,
fair.
though.
No shit. Like life's not fair. And that's one of the reasons why it only went to social equity applicants in Illinois. And then it's really difficult to define a social equity applicant in Illinois. And so he manages to fit that definition, not in Washington State. So he wasn't able to play that lottery. He's able to play the lottery in Missouri. He's able to play the lottery in Illinois. I think the next Illinois lottery will be early next year. And then is it fair that you win? Also, no, but you had the same shot that somebody else did. You
Yeah.
were able to buy one lottery ticket for yourself. That's it. And so they try to make it as fair as possible. And then now it's super regulated. And so the super regulated needs the limited market so that you have the cash flow to be able to cover that layer of regulatory BS that you have to do. And then they still want you to be able to have enough cash flow to pay livable wages to your employees.
Yeah. Yeah. You got
That's the concept. That's the whole idea. And so if you have an open market, like in a Michigan or in a New Mexico, you have the race to the bottom. It's like now working in the cannabis industry is like working at McDonald's.
Yeah, I get
It's
that.
an entry position. That's it. Yeah.
I wouldn't mind racing to the bottom as a store owner, but it's not definitely just quality of the experience. I think that we're going to create the best experience with for our own personal experience of being consumers and in the culture for a while. But hopefully more states come along lines, right? Like Pennsylvania.
We got a state this is the last big state besides Florida and Texas. Pennsylvania is the last big state to legalize, and it's the last big state in the Midwest. Sorry, Indiana's not a big state. I don't care that your team beat the Bears today. Anyway, lawmakers in Pennsylvania filed a bipartisan bill to legalize adult use cannabis, calling for the regulating of the adult use industry, expunging cannabis crimes. And it was filed on the first day the lawmakers were back from their recess. Of course, recess is something only given to children and elected officials, much like children, but with better health care.
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
can't believe it's bipartisan.
It is a 5% excise tax paid by cannabis sellers and an 8% sales tax on cannabis retail products. And they would have tax revenue to be distributed amongst municipalities. That's how you get dispensaries in your area. You make them pay taxes. And then the cities, I like taxes because cities are anthropomorphized humans. And yeah, that's what they're going to be doing. And so the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency will also receive funds. And regulation will mostly be on the Department of Agriculture. I don't necessarily like that's how we've done in Illinois. I think you should have, and I think Illinois should as well, their own regulator. Because like right now, we're under the Illinois Regulation of Professional Finance and Professional Rules. And so the IDPFR.
Sure.
If we had a grow, it would be under the Department of Agriculture. And so
Oh.
having regulators that like you split the regulators now, so they really don't know what's going on, and
Yeah.
it's all the same licensed business. I
Is that-
figured they should just have a single regulator.
Is that how alcohol done in there too, Illinois?
I'm not sure if there is what the regulator for alcohol is, and so there is one. I just don't know what it is. Yeah, expungements. They have that put in there. Grants to minority owned businesses, women owned businesses, veteran and owned businesses. They will be given priority under the legislation. There you go, Miggy. We're going to be applying for you in Pennsylvania before too long.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. We'll have to pull the bill and review it, but I hope that they do quite a few licenses because like Pennsylvania, I think they have more people than Illinois. They could support 700 dispensaries and each one of them would be doing about 7 million a year.
Do you think it would pause if rescheduling happens? Will it pause any sort of further legislation?
No,
Right.
I think it'll accelerate it. And so like it'll accelerate those states to get off their duffs. And I think the Texas has got like the biggest delta on rescheduling because there's 7,000 hemp shops in Texas and their legislature meets every other year, but it's a trigger law state. I've done a video on trigger laws. If you guys have not checked it out, please do. You'll find out whether or not your state is going to change as soon as the federal laws change, but it may. And about 2/3 of the states have some type of trigger. And so once it's rescheduled, many states where it's illegal and the medical program sucks, suddenly will just have their laws all amended to reflect it. And so I think like states like Texas has the biggest ability, especially if in the rules they go, here's what a dispensary is, here's what a grow is, here's what a processor is, here's how these three licenses operate, here's who they have to register with, here's what they do. And then Texas state law triggers and is immediately in compliance with the federal law saying that it's Schedule 3. What happened after they did hemp, the USDA came out with its own rules, and some states, like about 1 in 5, they just said, we'll do what the USDA says. And so
Right.
some states had their own modified rules, but then everybody has to register their hemp farm with the USDA. And then that's where the regulations unfortunately stop. But the FDA regulation could be coming faster now too, because when they move natural marijuana to Schedule 3, and then states like Texas join in, and there's rules about what it means to actually be operating one of these federal licenses, then the FDA can step in and say, taking from this 2-part test that says it currently has accepted medical use, we're going to grant natural marijuana GRAS status. Now, all these new hemp derivatives are novel. And so I could see them not be giving any GRAS status, and also the hemp plant getting more regulations, which effectively turned hemp back into rope, not dope.
Back to the Texas thing, though, isn't that like their medical right now is pretty much hemp, right? They have a 3% barrier on their thing.
It's
So,
really low. Yeah.
so that's silly. But like with Pennsylvania, though, what's still back? Because when we started the show, we had that one governor on here, the Leahy senator, was he at the time with the
Yeah.
cat? It went viral for a minute. That was dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's that? 5 years. So I don't. What is the holdback in Pennsylvania? Because
Pennsylvania,
not-
that's easy. No, it's politics. So like Pennsylvania is a swing state. It's a 50-50 state. And so it is a political issue in that. And some of the Republicans are judgy, and some of the Republicans are more like personal liberty, free markets. And so usually when you get west of the Mississippi, so like Missouri, for example, they are more free market, conservative, mind your own business, as opposed to like the judgy ones. Pennsylvania, that might be like good people don't use this type of stuff. And then, or it's the Democrats want it, we can't do it. Or if the Republicans want it, we can't do that. That's more like why Wisconsin and Pennsylvania don't have legal weed. Wisconsin also the Tavern League, but
Do you call it politics, or you just call it being petty?
they call it politics. Somebody was asking about the Benzinga. And so Benzinga, I will be there. I might not go because I get $600 to buy a ticket. I may go and get like a pass and I have to follow up with the META guys to see like what our plan is. But I'll probably be crashing at my buddy Henry's and there for one day, October 8th.
Right on. Got a question from Gabriel. Will online buying of THC hemp will go away?
Oh yeah. Can you go try to buy some cigarettes online or
Oh,
some
that's a good
alcohol?
point.
Good luck
Yeah.
with that.
I mean,
That's
you
where I
can.
think it's all going. You like Drizzly or something like that. Like the cigarette. Oh, I don't think you can because they shut that stuff down. And so because you'd have one state with the lowest cigarette taxes
Yeah, you're right.
mailing to all the other states, and they're like, hey, fuck you. I want my goddamn tax money. And so that's what it is. And so the same with buying liquor. And so when you can't buy liquor online, there's some small like caveats to that. If you go to a winery, you might be able to buy wine direct if they know that the person that they're shipping it to is of age. And so that's one of the fixes you get when you go to wine country in California. They'll see if you want to join their club or like those Drizzly apps or like DoorDash. That is an of age person buying it locally and then delivering it to you. So the taxes are paid. Right now, there ain't no tax on that online THCA sales or Delta 8 or any hemp. There's no tax on that. And so I could see it either goes away or it gets regulated or both, because we can't really sell weed online. We can, but then you're going to have to come to the store and pick it up. And so there's no ability to like really deliver in Illinois.
Funny story. It might be special to like craft spirits or something, but when I was in the service, there was this hot sauce company. We all were ordering, loved it, and then they had a spicy like a vodka in their thing. We got that sent to us along with a bunch of other stuff, and we're like all excited to have booze sent to us on the ship. But it is possible. I've imagined, right? Spirits of or craft. If Jack Daniels had a special $500 bottle, there's something.
Yep. Yeah, and
Maybe.
hemp pays sales tax. So does fucking every product. Like I'm talking like the tax, the excise tax, the tax over and above all the tax that everybody has to pay when it was doing a sales of goods. That's the real tax that they don't have to pay. So that's what's coming. There is one state, I want to say Tennessee added a hemp tax. They're like the only state that really added some type of tax and started regulating it a little bit. Them and
Well,
Minnesota.
is there a federal excise tax, like a commerce
No,
tax? Okay,
no, that's
so
and so like the feds are going to want. That's why the regulations really coming to shut it down. It's coming is because left Uncle Sam in the lurch. He likes to get paid.
yeah, Illinois did pretty well.
Illinois got paid in August. They did $147,391,733.03, which comes out to approximately $698,000 per each of the 224 dispensaries they're operating. Granted, that is a mean and just complete average. And so that's most dispensaries are over or under that amount. That would just be what the average is. We only have 224 dispensaries, sold $147 million worth of product in August, the third highest month since legalizing it. And that will just continue to go up. As there's more locations to buy it, there'll be more locations to buy it. And so the sales numbers will go up. The prices really won't come down until more of those grows open. So out of the 87 craft grows, only 16 are operational. So,
Oh my
right,
god.
they're too expensive. And like,
Oh,
yeah, you could, like, I got to get back to those good people and then I'll do that. Cause like
oh,
Delaware, man, I got a pleading deadline week and I also have Delaware to get done by Monday, 30th. So after that happens, then I'll be able to, I'm really looking forward to this AI coming on
but you
board
got
and like helping us do more
16,
work.
16 growers supporting that $1 billion purchase in a year
No,
industry.
no, 16 craft grows.
Okay,
There's 20 big grows. And so all
36
that
altogether.
product, I'd say, yeah, out of that 147 million, I'd say like a fraction of it, like maybe 20 million tops was all the adult use social equity licenses. The vast majority of that number is the original medical operators in the state.
See, what I see is like what I did yesterday, where I went to this event. I got a little sample of Marshawn Lynch's new weed. I got some
Mm.
other ladies' new weed. I got, anyways, the consumer meeting the product, right? The if as a store owner, I would love to sample the product, know the person behind it, but there's 36 options in Illinois. You're telling me that is bananas. 36 individual people. That's all you do is these stores. That's a problem. There's not a lot of variety, right? How many SKUs are in Illinois as far as there's?
Oh, I'm
I
sure there's
mean,
hundreds of SKUs, but the problem is that there's just not enough operators getting going, and a lot of that has to do with greed, and then a lot of it has to do with social equity, because you have greed, and then you have a license that's very expensive to become operational, and then you have the social equity applicants that have the licenses that don't have the capital, and they just can't make a deal to get
yeah,
operation. Yeah.
yeah, that's a harsh reality.
You can sell a license. That's the thing. Craft grow, you can sell that license before your operation. With our license, you can't. You cannot change the ownership until it's operating.
That's just where we're at. We got some normal news, or you want to do a little name history?
Let's do NT, name that strain first, and then we can do the normal news while we
Yeah.
see if people can guess. I'm gonna grab a
That's great. Nod your little bud. Maybe, maybe it's a hybrid wheat strain bred by Zuda Genetics and made from genetic cross or unicorn flippers and unicorn flippers. Yeah, that's all right. Well, I can dog. Let's be this doubles down on his parents' chemical funk smell that turns up to the THC. Grows well in environments, all environments. It finishes flowering in 5 days or less, which is a pretty good turnaround. That's the business. Hey, look, I got a mustache. Eh, if you hear me, I got the little nugget from my face.
yeah, that's a pile of nugs.
Right? That's what I thought, dude. This you might be acting weird, dude. My chat just also went weird.
Okay.
It's not Fruity
Well,
Pebbles.
it's not. But
Oh,
parents, his parents are in the name too. And so it's
yeah.
one of those where the parents of Unicorn Slippers, that genetic cross, one of those words made it into this name of the strain. Actually, 65 days for flowers and a little bit more than 8 weeks. So that's normal. Chemical funk that turns up the THC. Of course, it's THCA until you light it on fire.
Looks like the kind of bud
It's
that would
pretty,
make a pretty oh yeah,
pretty
or
unicorn cross. No, that's pretty close. Unicorn poop, not poop, but something besides poop that a unicorn has.
Poopity scoop.
Unicorns are real.
Oh,
You
yeah.
just suspend disbelief for a little bit. Unicorns are totally real if you just don't think too hard about it.
Yeah, man.
Same with Jesus. Boy, that's a lot of money we'd be saving each year on car insurance. And actually health insurance, not car insurance.
Ooh,
Stop
unicorn sword.
entrepreneur.
Oh, hey, we
Oh,
got
there it
unicorn
is.
breath.
Somebody got it.
Over there.
Unicorn breath.
JT Moon.
JT Munn. Shout out to him for getting unicorn breath. That, yep. Unicorn breath. Do you know the real unicorns?
Yeah, they do.
Just don't think
They
too hard about it. Just don't
magic
think too-
poop.
Magical poop. They do. The only poop with glitter.
Hey, we need more studies, man.
We do. We need more studies
more
for unicorn
studies.
poop.
All that stuff. Do you want to read about it
Okay.
first?
Is this one of the studies about the sustained use of medical cannabis is not associated with changes in either brain morphology or cognitive performance from the normal blog on September 19th.
Yep, hers.
Do adults who regularly consume cannabis do not experience any significant adverse changes in brain morphology or cognitive performance, according to longitudinal data as opposed to latitudinal data published in JAMA, that is the Journal of the American Medical Association. Yeah, and it's also the Journal of Jam Band Enthusiasts.
You know what's funny? Dude, last week, though, 2 weeks ago, there was some study that came out because JAMA is just like a lot of like people and doctors upload their studies and whatnot. So, like, you can make a headline about anything pretty much whenever a new
Right.
one comes out. But there was an association with cannabis use and blood pressure and heart. And as someone who's going through, first off, I've been asthmatic since I've been little, like, always had breathing issues. So I know cannabis hasn't affected like good weed, doesn't affect me that way. But with the heart thing and blood pressure, the one that came out last week, where it's saying it might increase, I like what you don't consider like the healthy American diet of just processed foods. I'm literally fighting high blood pressure because that is my lifestyle. I'm trying
Right.
to stay around a little longer. I figured out I should, but
You got to be careful. Heart disease is a killer, man. As somebody was asking if we had a Discord, we do not have a Discord. We have a Reddit.
we have
So,
Discord.
like our Reddit,
We don't use it.
oh yeah, we don't use it. We prefer if you would hit us up on Reddit and share bank links to our.
But yeah, back to the morphine brain thing. This is no shit. Willie Nelson hasn't degenerated. I can't think of any cannabis consumer that you're like, that's if someone's an alcoholic, you see him deteriorate, right? There's clear signs of
Mhm.
alcohol abuse, but like I can't like what is it like the running joke where it's hey man, just silence. Can't think. We've been doing this freaking thing for 5 years, smoking throughout the whole thing, and look here we are.
Yep, that is the least of my health issues. Pizza and cookies are probably more deleterious to my health and waistline than the cannabis is. Definitely those Oktoberfest beers. Oh goodness,
Oh
put those down.
yeah, those legal McDonald's for me, but
Oh, you got to stop doing that. Heart disease don't play. Heart disease don't play. Hey, what does? Cannabis. I've got a ganjapreneur study.
Oh yeah,
Legal medical cannabis could save the United States healthcare system $29 billion per year. Here's the kicker. Do you know how large the American healthcare system is? How large is the American healthcare system, which is what you're navigating, by the way. Navigating the American healthcare system, $4.5 trillion strong.
That's true.
which is 17.3% of the nation's GDP. Almost $1 in $5 is spent on your pills or some form of healthcare in our country. So that $29 billion with, let's see here. I'm going to just go ahead and have that be the denominator. No, the numerator. And then the denominator will be that $4.5 trillion number. Let's see. You can funk for and fill some time. I'm going to do it.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say, so this is something we've been talking about fucking since the beginning, dude. Day one, as far as cannabis being a wellness issue, like it's a choice for, like, you should have this choice, holistic choice to take cannabis for what ails you. As I said before, we figured out scurvy and vitamin C. Helps to get rid of that. We're all just vitamin THC deficient, and so
Vitamin THC deficient.
so this is not a brainer. This is a no brainer with your endocannabinoid system, right? You don't have a methanoid system. You don't have an alcoholic avoid system. You have
Sure.
a cannabis. I think I might.
It's not quite 1%. And so it's a shocking headline when you look at it, $29 billion. And then you realize it's 4.5 trillion. And so 29 billion divided by the 4.5 trillion, from my math, which is probably wrong, by the way, is 0.006444444. So less than 1% of healthcare costs could be saved by legalizing medical weed. Still do it though.
Yeah.
Moving
It's
to,
still-
is that Michigan or is that Wisconsin? Michigan, setting sales records. This is one of the reasons why you do not need to be scared of home grow. And so home grow in Minnesota, not Minnesota, it's legal in Minnesota too. Home grow in Michigan and in Missouri, and the market size that they have and the growth in the market size that they have shows you that home grow does not dent demand. If anything, it probably exacerbates, because people start growing weed, realize how freaking hard it is, how it takes forever, and then they go right back to the store.
And this is at low prices, and I'm not sure about their taxes, but like Michigan weed is selling $29 ounces. Like
Mhm.
they're making goddamn new record sales. Like the bullshit is you've been gaslighted this whole time when it comes to like home grows are gonna hurt the regular business or fair competition. Like you said, it's a race to the bottom sometimes if you have free open licenses, but then also that's a fair market. I've seen the fair market. We do what we got.
Mhm.
Like Georgia.
There we go. Terrible
Norfolk
idea.
Farm- What's that?
Yeah, moving to Georgia. It's a terrible idea. Georgia pharmacy begins selling medical marijuana to patients in defiance of DEA warning about federal law. Did you know Georgia's so stupid they have to count their ballots by?
Oh my god.
They don't trust like calculators in Georgia, because people counting to like numbers over 12 million, because I think there's approximately 12. Oh, so all the people aren't voters, but it's in the millions. But they're
I'd
going to
love
have
to
to
do
count millions of votes by hand. Nobody will make any mistakes, because humans, they don't make errors.
Did they pass that? Is that a fucking thing now?
I think it was a thing. I remember reading it in the news.
That's horrible. There's so many shenanigans state by state. Check and see if you're registered to vote. Go to vote.org. Or just check, get out, because that's
That's
apparently
important.
the other. Have you seen the other half the votes? I'm just saying. Have you seen these people? They vote.
No, they didn't.
Color outside
They
the
didn't
lines.
vote. But the DEA sent letters to dozens of Georgia pharmacies warning them against selling medical weed in their dispensary. And now one dispensary is selling it. Georgia's medical weed law is very strange. It allows pharmacies to dispense cannabis. However, the DEA told them don't, because they can only dispense controlled substances in schedules 2 through 5 of the Controlled Substances Act. Guess where marijuana's going here in a couple of weeks? Hopefully
Exactly,
weeks.
dude.
Because
Well,
it was 2 years ago next month when Joe Biden directed them to do the studies. And then it was August of last year, August 29th of 2023, when they issued their report to the DEA telling them to reschedule it. And then they published the rule, or the notice of the rulemaking. Then it was in May. And then the comment period expired in July. And now they have the hearing on December 2nd. So hopefully by the time the next president is sworn in on January 20th, we have the published proposed rule. Maybe it'll be an interim final rule. Damn, this stuff takes forever.
and hopefully she signs whatever needs to be done at the end. Like that. We got a
Mhm.
Cannabis MSO Green Thumb Industries announced a share buyback program. So we got a successful business story, right?
Share buybacks are one way that you can juice earnings because it's earnings per share. It's called treasury stock. So if you put more stock that's out in the float or the open market, you can then take them out of that calculation in earnings per share. So it makes you appear that you earned more for your shareholders. And so the tech companies use this type of financial engineering all the time. The other really interesting thing that happened in the week with Green Thumb Industries had to do with them getting $150 million line of credit from a
Wow.
regular bank, which was really
What?
interesting that banks, again, they're a very well established, capitalized, and operational cannabis company. And then banks should be more willing to lend to those types of clients, especially as Schedule 3 becomes reality. Technically, all of their operations is money laundering currently, which is just
You're right.
absurd when you think about it. The whole hemp industry was able to spring up practically overnight as you still haven't had a safe banking pass. They've been talking about safe banking for 5 years.
Yeah.
Like that's how slow regulation goes. But so it'll be interesting to see once it does move to Schedule 3, if all the hemp goes away because you have what you need, natural weed, then will more entities be willing to loan to operational entities? Hopefully, we're no longer committing money laundering, but it'll depend on how the rule shakes out. It's a lot harder for us to get the loan simply because like we have to start up and
Yeah.
we're
But like
so that's the problem.
that should be the real story though, as far as a bank giving a loan to these guys, as far as an established bank. Cause I tried reaching out at that event I went to yesterday. There was a bank there, Washington State Credit Union. And I was, hey, what can you do for a business in Illinois? And they're like, nothing. And I was like, hell yeah. We just stare at each other. It's just
Oh yeah. Not a
no shit.
goddamn thing. Yeah.
Just what I thought you were gonna say.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, man, that was it. That was it. Thanks for 200 now people still hanging with us. We appreciate you.
About
Thank you so
300 it
much.
says on my count. But yeah, hey, that's our show for the week. You can catch me at Benzinga on October 8th. And then I will be, I believe, in Phoenix, no, Scottsdale for one day only, October 30th. And then I'm back here for Halloween. But first, we have to close Delaware. Don't forget, get your apps into Delaware by September 30th. I also have a filing next week, but that's where you can catch us. And then thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribes. I'll try to make some more videos. So will Miggy. We'll see. We'll see you on.